Yes, what's going on, Kai Lifers? My name's Kai, this is Kai Life, and this video is a performance test for Hades on the Nintendo Switch 2. Now, from my perspective, and hopefully from yours, Hades on the Switch 2 is everything us fans could have hoped for. It's fast, it's smooth, and it's finally free from those occasional hiccups that sort of held it back on the original Switch, on the Nintendo Switch 1. So, if you've played Supergiant's Masterpiece before, you already know how addictive it is. But on the Switch 2, it's just that little bit smoother and that little bit more fun to play, in my opinion. Now I'm going to be showing you some gameplay in handheld mode. I'm going to be using my Pro Controller 2, not only because I absolutely love the Switch Pro Controller 2, but so you can just get a nice clear view of the screen, no movement from the Switch 2 itself whilst playing. And also there's some relevancy here in terms of latency and the improved latency from the Switch 1. So what's the most notable upgrade? In my opinion, well, the frame rate, absolutely no doubt. Hades now runs at a lot 60 frames per second in both handheld and docked modes. Now, I know what you're saying, it did the same on the Switch 1, but no, on the original Switch, it aimed for 60 FPS, but in heavy fights, especially with loads of projectiles flying around, there would be noticeable frame rate dips down into the 40s. We don't have that here. It stays locked at 60, and in this gameplay footage, I'm basically just showing you instances where there is loads going on screen. In boss fights, or you're doing trials, basically where there's loads going on the screen, and you'll see that it stays at a lovely, fluid, locked 60 FPS, even in handheld mode. The other thing, as we keep seeing here in games that are running on Switch 2, are that load times are significantly faster. We're talking maybe 2 to 3 seconds per room transition on the Switch 2, compared to what could be up to 8 seconds on the original on the Switch 1. Now that's not just smoother, but it makes for a much snappier gameplay loop, which matters way more than you think when you're doing run after run after run.
Of chaos, this is fun. Let's go, Tombstone.
Now, in terms of visual fidelity, we know that Hades is never about pushing hyper-realism. It's about style, and the Switch 2 gives that style some room to breathe. So, yes, there are higher internal rendering resolutions, there's a crisper UI, better anti-aliasing in both docked and handheld modes, the colours are bolder, the shadows have some more depth. But look, this hasn't been optimized for Switch 2 in terms of resolution. So we're actually still running at 720p here. And really what we could do with is a lovely 1080 60 FPS. Now, it doesn't really suffer too much because of the style of Hades and the graphics not being some sort of hyper-realistic aim. But it is noticeable, definitely in docked mode, not so much in handheld mode. And look, I don't really mind it. It's not a massive thing for me because I think having that locked 60 FPS in this style is the most important thing, especially, like I say, when things are busy on screen. But I would like to see this optimized for the Switch 2 and to get that lovely handheld bump to 1080. Now, I mentioned it earlier on in terms of input latency. Look, controls feel tighter on the Switch 2, there's no doubt. Obviously, while the Joy-Con layout hasn't changed much, Switch 2's improved input response does mean less latency. And that's great news for a game that demands precision dashes and split-second deflects. So whether you're using the Joy-Cons or like me right here, you're using a Pro Controller 1 or Pro Controller 2, or you're playing in handheld mode or docked mode, whatever it is, input feels snappier and more reliable. Now, look, I'm not going to tell you it's not going to make you a gaming god, but at least you're definitely going to feel more like one. Now, one thing that I love with playing Hades on the Nintendo Switch 2, same thing with the Switch 1, but obviously with the faster load times of the Switch 2, compared to, say, the Steam Deck or even my ROG Ally X, is the enhanced suspend and resume function. So you can pause Hades mid-run, you can, put it in sleep mode, close the lid of your case, and come back hours later right where you left off without a reload screen in sight. The battery life is also awesome. You easily get, say, between 5 and 6 hours of play in handheld mode with Hades, and that is a massive improvement over the launch model Switch, where this game could chew through a full charge in under 4 hours during longer sessions. So look, here's the Car Life verdict. Hades already felt great on the Switch 1, but on the Switch 2, it's lightning in terms of that FPS and with the upgraded hardware. You get faster load times, you get a lovely consistent 60 FPS on your frame rate, sharper visuals, even though we could do with a sharper visuals, even though we really could do with a perfectly optimized version for the Switch 2, and longer battery life, all of which combined to make the definitive portable version of one of the greatest roguelikes ever made. Now remember, we've got Hades 2 coming to the Switch 2 as a console-timed exclusive, which is awesome. And we know that Hades 2 is already a thing. It's already being played in early access right now. But look, it's coming to the Switch 2 as its first console release later this year. So that's going to be awesome to look out for. Alright, let me know whether you're one of those playing or replaying Hades on the Switch 2, or are you waiting for Hades 2 to drop before getting it on your Switch 2? Let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like, sub, and do that dash on that notification bell, and I'll catch you in the next run. Until the next video, my friends, take care, much love, and peace out. Thank you so much for watching the video, but wait, before you go, let me tell you about the joys of becoming a Car Life member. That's right, by supporting the channel with a Car Life membership, you'll get instant access to a whole chimney's worth of perks and incentives, and not just access to a bunch of exclusive channel emotes. That's right, aside from the unique emotes you can use in live streams to either support or troll the hell out of me, you'll also be bestowed with an ever more powerful Car Life sword to show off your continued and valued support for the channel, ranging from a wooden weapon all the way up to the legendary sword. But that's not all. You'll also have access to members-only content such as member-exclusive videos, priority viewing of content in advance, a bonus competition entry to any giveaways I do on the channel, priority for playing along in multiplayer and community-based live streams, and pre, mid, and post-stream and pre-recorded video shoutouts. Listen, I always massively value the support of my viewers and community, and this is my way of giving back to you for your support to the channel. So become a Car Life member today, grab your Car Life sword, and join me on the journey. But until the next video, take care, much love, and peace out.